Hi, it's Bren. Today we have Dr. Micheal Freeland with us. He has written a book called Free Your Land, and it's about developing your mental real estate. Dr. Mike, tell us
Yes.
what's going on with this book and why you wrote it.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, thank you for allowing me the space to be with you. It's an absolute honor to be able to share this platform. But mental real estate was created for so many people, including myself. And one of the reasons why I created mental real estate is because I understood that there are many perspectives of the mind. And when it comes to the perspectives, what is it that you believe in and what is it you want other people to understand about you? But here it is. One of the things about mental real estate that I love so much is that there's so much that we can learn about ourselves. See, I can talk to people about what it means for them to know more about me, but what does it mean to know more about you? When we're talking about mental real estate, the best part to me, there's so many best parts, so you're gonna probably hear me say that a lot because I love it. I created mental real estate because as a child I had a childhood illness and I still live with it today. Here I am nearly 50 years alive and I still deal with this very rare disease that has plagued my left leg all my life. And it is called Milroy's disease. It is a very rare disease. It is only found in 200 documented cases around the world.
Wow.
So that lets people know just how rare this is. But when it came to the rarity of the disease, there were a lot of doctors that did not know anything about it. And so I had to learn how to do and adapt and how to grow and all of these things without the knowledge of even how to take care of myself. And not only that, what made it even worse was the fact that my mother, when you have something, they say, when you look up the definition, they say, hey, Milroy's disease is a genetic inherited condition, is what they call it. So you already know if they say it's inherited, there has to be a trace. So
Right.
somebody along
Somewhere.
your bloodline on your mama's side or your dad's side has to have this. But that did not happen. When I
Hmm.
asked my mom, hey, do you guys know anything about Milroy's disease on your family? She said, we've never seen anything like this. And when they asked my dad the same question, he responded the exact same way. I don't know anything about this. I've never seen this before. I don't even
Oh,
understand it. And so growing up with the sickness of Milroy's disease, I had to go through everything for the first time.
right.
As
You
I
were
grew
learning
up,
as you
everything
went.
that I experienced with Milroy's disease, I went through it for the first time with no knowledge, no understanding, no care treatment, no plan. So we just had to go through this. So one thing I learned, and as I got older, Milroy's disease never changed; it never left me. So I have this what people would like to call a deformity, but I have a deficiency in my left leg. So when I go places, it appears different, it looks different, it's bigger, and sometimes it attracts a lot of attention. And I knew that that attention was not going to be positive for me. Because if you can remember back in the 1970s and 80s, not to tell my age or yours, but back in the 1970s or 80s, a lot of people would make fun of the things that they didn't
Kids were
understand.
cruel. People
Yeah,
were,
it was
I mean, they
very
still
cruel.
are, but it wasn't as accepted as it is now.
Right. It was not as accepted. If you look different, there was something bad about you. If you
Right.
if you appeared different or you walk different or you
Mhm.
talk different, there was something bad about you. So I had to deal with a lot of that growing up. But see, one thing I also learned about Milroy's disease and mental real of state, and this is how it came to fruition, is that I had to understand that what my condition was did not control my situation. And once I understood that the condition didn't control the situation, I had to try to figure out how do I strengthen myself. And really, this was not just a conversation I had. I went through a lot of crying, a lot of talking. My mom would try to help lift my head up when I was down. I had people who didn't even know that I was sick, that I was always challenging me. I didn't want to fight people all the time because I knew that, I just had my own fight, my own battles to deal with. And so as I grew up, I started thinking more about what I could do as opposed to everything they told me I couldn't do. And see,
Right.
because when someone tells you what you can't do, it's almost easy to accept that
It's
rather
it,
than
it
just
is
think,
because that now you have an excuse.
yes, now you have an excuse. And once people give you an excuse, most of the time, if you don't have your head in the right headspace, you're going to use that excuse to your leverage.
That's
And
right.
I've seen it happen many a times because one thing that people come to me, and I'll get into that later, is that when we're talking about mental real estate and how it equated to where it is right now, I had to learn how to think on my own. Because when I
Yes.
took the opinions of others, when I allowed people to pour into me, it gave me their thoughts and their ideology, but
Mhm.
it didn't serve me well.
And it didn't leave any
So
room for you.
right, it didn't leave any room for me. So when I decided to follow their instructions, I fell on my face every time. Every time. And even if I didn't, I thought I was standing, I thought I was doing good. What happens is they do this and then they go the other way, and I'm like, well, what happened?
Yeah,
And
where
now
are
I'm
you?
stuck without a
Yeah.
thought process. So I started to think about this thing. I said, when it came to my leg condition, because listen, I deal with pain every day, every day. Some people they don't understand how I do it, but if you live with a rare disease, as long as I have, you have to find your coping mechanism. You have to
You
find that
do.
way that just really strengthens you to go beyond the physical. And that is why mental real estate has been put in place and implemented, not just because I realize what I can do potentially, but now I understand. Listen, the pain that I had, the suffering I had, the doctors, the needles, the different hospitals, the multiple surgeries, and so much care that was misdiagnosed. Let me mention that
Right.
again. So much care that was misdiagnosed, because what I understood about the doctors is that when they didn't understand what you had, they had to tell you something.
Right.
So
They
they
got they
gave
got
me
to
a
come up with
diagnosis that
something.
was not right. So they tried to give me a diagnosis that was not my own, and I had already knew and understood what I had and what I was dealing with. And I had to force that back on them, because I knew that if I had listened to them,
Oh, you froze up there. There you go.
yes, you got me back. Okay, but
Yep.
mental real estate is about you. When I say that, I mean it's literally about you. I created this ideology behind mental real upstate, and people say, "How did you come up with this mental real upstate?" It's simple. Let me give you just a little bit of that. When we talk about homes, I mean, I'm not personally a homeowner, but I do have a nice place that I stay in. And but as long as I'm paying for this establishment, it
Mhm.
belongs to me.
That's right.
And homeowners have what? We have boundaries. We
Mhm.
have our property lines, our pins, everything that tells us where we're supposed to be.
That's right.
And in this area, we got our house, we got our car, we have our yards, we have our furniture, we
Mhm.
house our
Your stuff.
families and our children. So all of these things are within this area of our property. That's your mental, that's it, that's your real estate. The
It is.
natural real estate is what you own. But when we're talking about mental real estate of your mind, this is exactly the same definition when we're talking about the mind. Because we
Absolutely.
all have parameters within our own mind. Because your mind belongs to you, mine belongs to me. Everybody that was born has a mind to think, and then they can make decisions based on what they know. So within that mental capacity that you have, we call that the real of state of your mind. And in that mental real of state of your mind, we try to get people to understand, equate this just like you would a property that you own on real estate. Because think about it. You have your trash cans in a certain area, and you know that every once a week or so you put your trash out, or you got to cut your grass because if it gets too long it gets a little bit irritating, or you got to fix, or you got to get that car out of the driveway that broke down. So here's what I'm saying is, when we have a car that broke down in the driveway, what happens to that space that car occupies? Absolutely nothing,
Right.
because
But
the
it's
car
being
is
taken
there.
up.
It's not going anywhere, right? Okay. So when we're talking about mental real estate, if we don't want our old vehicles just sitting in the driveway occupying space that you can't do anything with, why would we allow people to speak negativity into our lives?
Right. To
Why
take
would
your
we
space
allow
in your head.
why would we allow people to put depression, to take depression and amplify what we're dealing with and what we're going through? Stress, depression, disappointments, it goes all the negativity. Abuse. I'm not going. I'm transparent. We're talking about abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of these things that plague the mind, decision making,
And it does. And it
and
takes
it
up a
does.
lot of time in your
Yes,
mind. Your mind doesn't shut down when you go to
yes,
sleep at night. You just continue thinking about
yes.
all these problems and
Right.
what you got to do the next day. And so said this, and it's affecting me that way. And it's
Right.
miserable.
Yes. But let me help you with this though, because not only do we have to deal with these things, but when I was just talking about that old car in the driveway earlier, this is why mental real state of your mind is so important, because just like you can't not use that space that is now being occupied by something that has no use. When you get all these thoughts in your mind, we only have so much capacity in our mentality anyhow. But when you start feeling your brain and your mind and your thoughts are getting circled around all of the negativity that has been happening to you in your life, it will actually render you useless in this area. So guess what? So now I can't necessarily come to you and talk to you about all of the positive things because there's a certain level in a certain area that your mentality has held you hostage in that won't allow you to break through it. So when we're talking about mental real estate, just like you said, look, I can't keep this car on my property for too long because I got to pull it off. Not only is the city going to say something, but we know better, and we want to say, look, oh, either I'm going to get it fixed or I'm going to do what? Get rid of it.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? So I either fix it or I get rid of it. So in mental real state of your mind, this is what we mean. When we have depression, and that's not something that's easy to deal with. And I'm going to be honest, that's not something easy to deal with. When we have disappointments, when we have letdowns, we're talking about families, children, losses of life, losses in life, jobs. It doesn't matter. When we have these things, a lot of times we'll allow it to fester. We'll allow it to stay there and sit there. Because a lot of times, being honest and transparent, because I love transparency, some of us just don't want to deal with it. Yes, and ignoring or choosing not to deal with it does not excuse that this still exists. It's still there,
and it still takes up space because
it still occupies the space
on a level you don't think you are. That's
right. Absolutely. So what I'm saying is, if we're not going to fix it like that old car in the driveway, we got to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
It only has as much value as we give it. But see, there's a lot of things that have no value, but we don't want to get rid of. Why? Because sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes these values that we don't want to necessarily get rid of, or the things that have no value, they create memories.
Yes, they do.
Bad relationships. I'll raise my hand. I've been in one of those. I've been in many of those. Yes. So when you deal with the disappointment of relationships, just as an example, a lot of times we want to move on, but sometimes we don't want to move past it. It's one thing, I'm moving on. Okay, I get it. But how do you move past it? It starts here. Because speaking it out of your mouth is one thing, but see, the thought.
Acting on it.
Absolutely. Here it is, because the thought creates the action. That's the powerful message right there. And if anybody's listening, write this down, that the thought creates the action. If you want to do something, you got to think about it first. But not only do you have to think about it, but you have to have the right process in mind to understand that what you have just thought, the idea that just came across your mind, is something that you could actually enact, that you could put it into motion, and you can actually watch it. Because it is nothing better. Like, it's funny because let me tell you, when people make decisions based on what they believe or what they want to do, and they have not thought it through, most of the time, here it is. It's so funny because kids do it, adults do it. I've done it. Is that when you do something without putting the thought to it, somebody always, if they're close by, they'll look at you and say, "What are you thinking?"
You weren't.
Because if you move ahead of that thought process you're going to operate, but without a thought process. And when we act without thinking, a lot of times we get caught. And not only do we get caught, we get stuck. Because how many times as an adult or even as a youngster have we put ourselves in a position, and when we've done something, stood back and said, man, what was I thinking?
And then you don't know how to get out of it.
Sometimes. And I don't know how to get out of it. Right. So this is why mental real estate is so important, because listen, I want people to be able to use what they have. It's not for me to give you the recipe to say, look, you have to cook. Let me put 2 eggs in here, get you some baking soda.
It doesn't work like that.
This is the recipe belongs to you. The power in mental real estate is understanding the potential that you have. Right. I can tell you my potential. I can tell you what mental real estate has done for me, and I can bring you into understanding what this does. But what I cannot do is help you to say, listen, I had some really hard times before, and I really want to do something better this time around. I know that I can do this. But the power in knowing mental real estate is knowing that you can do it. It's not an if, it is a when.
Right.
It's not a why, it's a how.
Yes.
And when you can realize that the potential belongs to you to act more on the full potential that you have, you will find. And here it is, because I know, Brenda, I know. And this is why I get excited, because I talk about this, and I know that because you create the ideas behind your thoughts.
That's
When you
right.
can start to understand more about you, then you can actually understand the ideas that are given to you, and you can
Amen.
actually put this into action. You personally, I know, would not be where you at if you did not take the time to know who is Brenda Ringwood.
That's right.
You had
Absolutely.
to put the time in. And see, a lot of times, I said this on the show yesterday, but it's still relevant right now. A lot of times people will pay the cost, but they don't want to pay the price.
And boy, say that again, because there is a difference there. There
Yes, a
is.
lot of people want to pay the cost, but they don't want to pay the price to get
Absolutely.
what they need. And there are no immediate results. Let me say this for anybody that is listening right now, and you might even write this down, because there are no immediate results. There is work that has to be done, because listen, mentality is a growth process. Let me say
Yes.
this again. Mentality is a growth process with consistency. Sorry if the mic, I'm trying to
Oh, that's
adjust
all
it so
right.
it's
I can
not
still hear you.
okay. But it's a process with consistency. And as you develop consistency with what you're doing, mentality in your mental real up state of your mind, then that right there gives you the patterns to know exactly what you do. Because it could be something as simple as what? If I come in the house every day and I take my shoes off and I put them at the door, what do you think I'm gonna do every morning? I know where my shoes are. They're gonna be at the
Yep.
door. I put them on, I get up and I go. Just like, some of us are horrible, me, at just finding where the keys are. So if I train myself enough to put the keys on the key ring when I walk in every morning, when I get ready to leave the house, I already know, find the key
These
ring,
are
there it is.
right.
So mental real estate is the exact same way. I'm telling you, because everything I'm talking about is about the properties of real estate. But
Right.
mental real of state of your mind operates the same way. You are living in a home right now that is full of your mental real of state.
Hmm.
All of your ideas are here. All of your
Yes.
thoughts are here. All of the things that you want to do are here in
Yes.
your home. Because it
Along with
wouldn't
the
be there
memories.
if you right,
Yes.
if you didn't think about
Yes.
it or you didn't choose, it wouldn't be there.
That's
So
right.
when we're talking about that mentality that matters so much,
Your style is there.
come on now.
Hmm.
You put your whole spin on it, because listen, and I'm a man, but I mean, I know with women though, don't go into their castle and move nothing out of place. Like, hey, that's
Right.
my stuff. Put it back. Don't touch that. All of these things that happen because there's a lot that you put into your real estate.
That's right.
But just like that, we want people to understand that the real upstate of your mind is the exact same way when it comes to taking care of your home. Take care of your mind. You owe that to yourself.
You
You
know, you
actually
absolutely
owe
do.
that
You
to
owe it
yourself.
to, yes, you
No,
owe it to you. You owe it to your family.
yes, and let's really understand that we don't want people to just come around and keep stealing ideas or
Right.
stripping us of our ideas, because we know that it happens. Because I know that it's happened to me. When someone comes to me and tells me, I don't like what you're doing. But
Hmm.
see, they don't understand. I said it before that, look, you may have sight, but you don't have my vision.
That's right.
And see, and just because someone can see what you're doing doesn't mean they have the vision that God has given you to operate in a
Absolutely.
certain way. And that right there really strengthens what you're doing. So I really would plead to anyone that is watching, that is listening right now, that when it comes to your ideas, these are God given. Let me tell you, these are automatic downloads. Now, I don't know about your religion. It's not up to me to tell you what you believe. But what I'm saying, what works for me is that understanding that the ideas were my inheritance. And once I inherited my own ideas, I understood that how am I going to go about this? What am I going to do next with this? And how is this going to help somebody else? That right there is the secret. Mental real
Absolutely.
estate is not only
Absolutely.
designed to help you to understand more about yourself, but when you get to the level of understanding more about who you are, how are you going to use what you have to help somebody else understand their mental real estate? Because it's not for us to strip away to the bone what people possess and what they own. It's for us to help them develop what they know. I don't want to bring you down. I need to bring you up. They
And by
said it's
doing that,
lonely at the top.
yes, that's right. And by doing that, you will have others that you're going to be bringing up as well. You meet some fabulous people. You
Yes.
get to grow.
Yes.
You get to empty out all that negativity. You get to
Right.
meet some better people. You get a better circle, and you
Yes.
get to live life happy. And when you can
Absolutely.
do that, man, that's success. That right
Yes.
there is success.
And it's a great feeling. I don't know anybody who doesn't enjoy a great feeling of positivity. When there's
Right.
positivity around you, it's infectious. And I mean, a lot of times, as they said, misery loves company, and to a degree, maybe that is true. but I also know
You want to
that.
hang around people that you think are going through what you're going through so you can have a pity party.
Right. And
Yeah.
you know what? But
Yeah.
sometimes you need somebody to nudge you a little bit.
That's right. And say, what
Now,
the
and
heck
that,
are you thinking?
right. And that's just being honest, because it
Mhm.
took somebody to, it's not necessarily a nudge that I needed, because I lived my life with so much negativity going on around me that I had to find a way, and I had to fight to find the way. But when it comes to what I'm doing now and how mental real estate is taking off, so, oh my God, let me tell you, can I just share how this book was even created? I might have,
Yes, please. That's
but
what we want to
listen,
know.
how the book was created. I was doing conferences with black belt speakers as a DJ, and this is, oh, I'm past 30 years now as a DJ, and so what happened was I was working at a conference with Dr. Ruben West, and he invited me. I've been to Chicago with him. We've done work in Topeka, and North Carolina, South Carolina. We've been all over the place, and so the World Civility Ambassador at the time, His Royal Highness Sir Clyde Rivers, was in Kansas City for one event, and he saw me there for the first time, and I was doing my thing. I was having a great time, and then he says, "Hey, man, you up here killing." And I said, "Well, thank you, Doc. I appreciate that, Ambassador." So before it was all over, I got a chance to talk with him. I said, "Hey, will I ever see you again?" I said, I told him, I said, "If I don't ever see you again, I want you to know I appreciate the opportunity just to meet you." And he says, "You want to go to Africa?" I said, "Who, me?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You got a passport?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "Get one." I said, "Okay, I'll have one." So then time goes by, and I see him about a year later in Detroit, Michigan, because we're doing another event in Detroit. And when I see him in Detroit, he comes to me and asks me again, "Do you have your passport?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." He says, "Okay, I want you to come with me as one of my 10 delegates. You're going to get an opportunity to meet the youngest king in the world, and I would like for you to be one of my 10 delegates." I said, "Absolutely." I had no clue what I was saying yes to. I just said, "Yes, I will do it." So what happens is I get on this plane, meet Dr. West and Jennifer Harris, Dr. Jennifer Harris. We get on the plane and we whisk all the way over there, and we get over there and have the time of our lives, life-changing experience, something I've never experienced before and may never experience again, no matter how many times I go back. But when I got to Africa and began my international speaking, it was at Cairo International University, and I spoke to the students at the college, and it was a phenomenal time. We had a great time, and so what happened was when we got to moving around more, I got interested more in who this man, Ambassador Rivers, was. So I began to work with him, and one of the first things he said to me is, "You need a book." I need a book. Now I'm just gonna be transparent. I said, "Man, I don't write books. I didn't have a book
I'm
before.
a
I had
DJ.
never had a
I
book
speak. I
before."
don't do books. Yeah.
Right. I said, "Man, I don't do books. I DJ, man. I don't do nothing about writing no book." He said, "No, you need a book." I said, "Okay, I'll think about it." So I worked with him. He mentored me. I signed up for his program, and I started working directly, closely with him. And he came to me with the same thing again. "Have you thought about the ideas for your book?" I said, "No." so so we talked a little bit more, and I said, "You know what, Ambassador, I'll do it. I'll do it." I had no idea what to do with a book because I had never written one before. Um, I got through school, but it was not always my favorite thing. But once I came through, I mean, I got through and I got out, so thank God for that. But what happened was, as I started to write the book, I picked up notepad. I grabbed a pen and I started writing. I did it old school. I forgot that there were computers you could type on. I actually picked up
Sometimes
pen
it's
and
just
paper.
easier to get it out of the brain to a piece of
Right. So
paper.
I started writing. Now let me tell you, because I had no process at all, I started writing, and I got so frustrated with trying to figure out how to write this book that I threw the pen across the room.
Mm.
I threw the pen across the room because
But you didn't give up.
I was so frustrated because I didn't know the process at all. I didn't know the first thing about writing a book. And when I started thinking, I got overwhelmed with my thoughts because I said, "How do you tell a life, situation, a life condition in a few pages?" I couldn't do it. So what happened was I sat there and then I said, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and go pick my pen up since I threw it. Nobody else is around to pick it up, so I got to go get it." So I go pick my pen up, and here's what I did. So I grabbed my pen and I held the pen up in the air and I said, "Okay, God, if you want this book, You give me everything I need. I can't write this book, but you can.
Yes,
So if you give me what I need, I will write it down. And that was my prayer. And immediately, things started coming to me. Definitions started coming to me, and it all came to me at different times, in different pieces.
Right.
And I got frustrated at times because I didn't understand how any of this made sense. But in my spirit, it was like, don't touch it, leave it alone.
Right.
So what happened was, every time I started writing in this book to create mental real estate, I would pray before I touched anything. I would pray, then I would write. I would pray, and I would write. And there was a couple of times I tried to go ahead and finish a chapter just because it was late. I was tired. I'm ready to go to bed. And every time I tried to do something on my own, I couldn't do it. I would lose my thought.
Right.
So I said, man,
that's how God works.
Right. I said, I couldn't do it right. So I really went through this thing spiritually guided because I had no choice. I knew naturally I couldn't do it. So I was spiritually guided through this whole thing. So by the time I got to the end, and me and the ambassador had talked about it, and he was just ecstatic by what God's work was.
He was, yes.
And here's the thing, and here's a secret that a lot of people don't know. I'll share it from time to time, is that when you get the book, Free Your Land, Developing Your Mental Real Estate, let me try, boy, I tell you, these screens. But when you get the book, Free Your Land, Developing Your Mental Real Estate, you're going to learn a lot about me. But when you read that page to page, sentence to sentence, word for word, from one definition to another, one of the things you're going to see so much is that there's power in this book for you. It's power in transformation. It's power in acceptance. It's power in conquering fear. It's power in so many different levels. But the real tool to this that I rarely tell people is that every single sentence, every single word in this book, with the exception of a punctuation, was only written one time.
That's wonderful.
One time. I mean, but that's how for me,
that's how you know it's real and it's genuine.
It's authentic. I didn't change nothing. I mean, when I put it down, I literally had to stop and leave it there. I mean, and I was tempted. There was times I was tempted, and every time I thought about it, it's like, don't do it. I kept hearing, don't do it. Leave it alone. And when I went back, and here it was, when I got done with the book, it's one thing to be, and if you're an author, so you understand that when you write a book, it's one thing to read the book as the writer. But when you read your book as a reader, after it's all done, and you go back and you actually read, man, the book opened up to me. And I said, wow.
It did to you what it's doing to your readers, and you wrote it.
Man,
that's
it
when
was
you know you got a good book.
Yes, it was like, wow, are you kidding me? So I'm so excited for so this is the creation and how mental real estate came to be. And this is why every time I'm always giving God the glory, because this book would not have been possible without that happening. Without the spiritual intervention, it would not have happened. And now mental real estate has already been taught into correctional institutions and juvenile maximum facilities. Right now, we have people who are being educated before they come out, helping them understand various thought processes that they're living with, that they're going through. Yes, and they need that. And I mean, and I'm so thankful. I mean, man, I'm so grateful that this is at a platform that I never saw coming. But that's how it really works, is that you create something that is so special, and the provisions will be made for you. And I mean, and the thing is, it's not, I love driving this initiative because it is a global initiative. It is so much literature that goes into this. But I also know that it's the people that matter. It's the people that matter when it comes to mental real estate. And what can I do to help you? What can I do to help enlighten you and help you understand that you matter more than anything else? If you don't matter to yourself, who else will you matter to? It has to begin with you.
It does, because if you don't start with you, who's going to follow?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So all of these things matter so much. And I mean, and I'm honored that Free Your Land, Developing Your Mental Real Estate is now in institutions. And you know what happened? You was there in Kansas City at the first annual Mental Real Estate Conference. It was amazing. We had a great time. Let me say this, that this is an event that is going annually.
It's a movement.
It is a movement. It is a mental real estate movement. And let me tell you guys why it is a movement. Because mental real estate belongs to everyone. And I've already said that. but perspectives, and I said this before, that there are positive and negative contributors to your mindset. So when we're talking about how do we build perspectives into the way people think and the way they respond and how they even act, you got to understand that there, because I can stand on a stage and I can talk to 1,000 people and I might reach 50 of them, but I could put you on the same stage and you might reach the other 50 I couldn't reach.
That's the
So
way
what
it
I'm
works.
saying is, there's power in the perspective. And so everybody has a perspective. This doesn't mean you have to be a world-renowned speaker or an international speaker on major platforms. You have a thought process that somebody else needs. And if you have a thought
Sometimes
process,
they just need that little nudge.
thank you. Exactly. Sometimes they just need that little nudge. And what I really want to do, and with the vision I see with mental real estate, is bringing people to the platform.
Right.
Not just to the platform, because at some point we have to get, and this is a powerful word, we have to get an acceptance, because the word acceptance allows you to get into a place where now you can see how you can be used, to help other people.
You have to accept yourself for who you are, what
Absolutely.
disabilities and abilities you have.
Yeah,
and you need to use that to your advantage. And people say, well, how can I use my disability to my advantage? I'm not talking about using it to get stuff. I'm talking about using it to fuel your ability to move forward.
Yeah.
And when you do that, oh my goodness, doors are going to open.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of meeting you at that Kansas City event 2 years ago.
Yes.
And yes. I have met with Dr. Rivers. I've met with Dr. West, and these people that he has aligned himself with are phenomenal. They are wonderful, genuine people who truly want to see you succeed, see you benefit from your own talents. Yes. And he fit in with that group because he was accepting what his talents were and what talents he didn't have. And then he wrote a book. Yes. Because he did have the talent he didn't realize he had.
Yes.
And not only did he just write this book, he's now started this movement to help as many people as he can. I'm ecstatic about the fact that Kansas and Missouri prisons have agreed to put this book into their institutions so that people coming back out into our community will have some type of education, thought process level with the mind. Yes. Not just classes, but something that they truly want to change. They truly want to focus on a better life. That now they have something in their hands. So when they come back out, they're already started. Right. They're not having to look for it and start over.
Absolutely. And what does it mean to equip the people that are coming out of these facilities? Because we was talking about this, and one of the things that the lost art of understanding is one thing that people choose not to understand, that there are a lot of beneficial leaders behind those walls. There's a lot of educated people behind those walls. There's a lot of world changers behind those walls, and given the opportunity when they come, we got to make sure that they're understood and ready, because when they come to these platforms, these are difference makers, world changers. I mean, they're going to change the game, because listen,
if
so
they
much
choose
intellect,
to and they want to, and they think they can, and they act on that, then they absolutely will. And we tend to judge them because of their past, but don't we all have a past?
Absolutely.
Haven't we all made mistakes? Some have gotten caught, some haven't. Some mistakes aren't illegal, but at the same time, we've all made mistakes that have hurt other people. And if somebody truly coming out of that wants to change and to do better, then I think we should let them do that. Let's hear what they got to say.
The benefit is, we get the benefit out here of saying, look, I messed up. This is what I'll do different, and I'll do this right now, and I have to continue living my life and moving forward. But what they don't get is a lot of times people who are sitting behind those walls who have to deal every single day with the consequences of their actions.
That's right.
And that's a real place for them. But when they have to do that every day, you got to understand that the strength of the mind, if they do this every day, now we have to keep living life, paying bills, going to work, taking care of kids, families, and then we tell ourselves, well, I'm going to do this right next time. Right. But we don't really give ourselves the lesson, because we don't take enough time to invest in our mistakes to understand how we can move past that. But when they have time, and I'm not saying this is a negative thing, I'm not saying it's a positive thing, I'm saying that when you have time, you can reflect like other people can.
That's right.
So the reflection is very real on people who have to deal with time, because they know that, look, the strategic mind is It's
And
so
trust me,
powerful. I wish I could get that because I
yes,
know that the strategic mind of someone who knows that they can make a difference and that they will make a difference, give me the opportunity and watch what happens. I can see this already. I
yes.
know that this is blessed work, and the people who are going to be impacted by mental real estate
If
are
they
going to
choose
get,
to act on it, that's the
should
key.
they
And
choose.
when,
That's
right.
right.
And, and I can relate to that because I have done time and I did spend 4 years reflecting on my mistakes and everything
Yes.
that I did wrong. And I took the shoulda, woulda, couldas into the I can, I will, and I am.
Right.
And when you have your mind made up, you've already got your education and your experience in life. So when you come out, you
Yes.
haven't lost that. Come out and make changes. And when you take that into some type of an educational book that you have in your hand that's going to
Yes.
walk you through the stages of it. I've read the book. I have a signed copy. I encourage you to get the book. It will
Thank you.
make you think. I wish I had it when I was in there
Man.
because I could have got started sooner,
Yes. And
and
there's
there
so
was
much
nothing there
power in
for
that.
me.
There's just so much power in mental real estate. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said I remember a lady who had bought the book for me. I remember her name very vividly. She's like family to me. And when she bought the book, she went home and she read it, and I got a message from her like a few days later. And the first thing she said is, "Michael, if I had had this book 30 years ago, my life would be
See?
different right now."
Yes.
So I was amazed, but at the same time I was honored that people take that time to invest in themselves because
Right.
that's what it takes. You can't just
Yes.
say I'm going to do something without putting the action in. You got to put the work in. And I mean, but the guarantee is you. The guarantee is
Right.
you.
And
When you put the work in, you start to see some
yes.
things about yourself. You realize some things about who you are, really maybe what you would have thought years ago. And you know what? This is the good part too. I mean, I told you I was going to say this a lot. But some of the best parts about mental real estate is so real. Is that not only do you get the opportunity to go through the book and do the work in the book, can you imagine if you set that book down and you come back 1 year later and you pick that book up again and see where your progress
Right.
was back
See the
then
change.
to where
Yes.
you are now, then you will see the evidence and the results of mental real estate because this is
And
what it's about.
you can use it again to reach
Yes,
that
you
next
can.
level. Yes.
Absolutely. You know what? But there's a couple things in play that I haven't said yet because it's definitely going to be working. But I don't mind saying this to you and letting this out that there is a workbook coming for mental real
Good.
estate.
Good.
That is, it's not like just reading the book. It's not the same, but it is definitely
Mhm.
along the same lines of everything that mental
But
real
some
estate
people
stands for.
learn differently and they need that. Some people
Absolutely.
need to have a workbook to, I know
Yes.
for myself,
Right.
when I write it down and have to think about what I'm writing down,
Right.
I learn it differently and it stays with me.
Yes.
I tell people I'm kind of hands-on. If I can read the book and I can apply it, but if I
Yep.
actually take notes on it,
Right.
it gets in here and it stays, because
There
you're
you go.
studying it now. It's
Right.
completely different.
Becomes
And
a part of your literature.
there's right. And
Yes.
I people who really want to change, that really will evaluate themselves
Uh
deep
huh.
inside and get to know who they really are and what
Right.
they really want out of life. This book is going to unlock those doors to show
Yes.
that to them.
Yes, it is.
And it's what's needed out there, and not just in prisons. I mean, come on, you can be in prison in your own life, your
Right.
own
You don't
mind.
have to be behind the walls to be
Right,
locked up.
right. Fears incarcerate you,
Yes.
self-doubt,
Yes.
insecurities, and all these things that stop you from becoming who you want to
Yes.
be. This book will help you through that. Dr. Freeland also, not only does he do DJs, he does go and he speaks about this. He holds his own conference about this. It's going to be an annual learning session about the
Yes.
mental real estate
Yes.
movement.
Yes.
And I can foresee there this whole movement, this book evolving into more,
I
maybe
can see
even a
it too.
part two,
Thank
like
you.
you said, a workbook. So
You know, it's so good. It is so good because I've also had the opportunity to speak to, and you've probably seen it out there a while back. I had the opportunity to go a part of with Milroy's disease because I told you how rare this disease is.
mhm,
That KC Rare actually reached out to me, and they're an entity that actually speaks on various platforms talking about rare diseases around the country. And I've actually had the opportunity to speak at Medical Center, Kansas Medical
Yes.
Center, to various doctors and therapists, and and students who are going to be moving into the medical field about my Milroy's disease, and help bring awareness. But it
Right.
all ties into mental real estate, because even when you get the book, you're going to understand how I got on this journey. When I talk to you a little bit about the Milroy's disease and the age and what I've been through, these are all of the contributors that help add into mental real estate. Because one thing I know is that everybody has a history, and we all come from somewhere.
That's right.
You may not have the same deficiencies that I do, but we still have some things that we have to deal with, and that we've had to deal with in order to move forward with what we want in life. So
That's right.
this is powerful, very strong, and I encourage, and I'm willing to come and speak to any organization and help them understand a little bit more about mental real estate, because the real strength is in our people, and not only the commodity that we put in them, but what about our youth? Think
That's
about
right.
these kids that are coming up,
Our
the next
stuff is not our
generation.
asset. Our brains
Right.
are. Our brains
That's,
are, and how we use it, and what
yes,
we
ma'am.
leave behind is what absolutely. And
Yeah.
he's going to bring this into the Becoming the Best You conference in February. He
Yes.
is not only going to be the DJ, he's one of the speakers. He's going to talk about it. His book will be there, because this book will help you become the best you. And
Absolutely.
again, it's a mindset. You can pick it up and read it, and you
Yes.
can toss it to the side and not do anything with it. And that's shame on you.
Right.
Because if you've taken the time to read it, and that says, okay, I need to change. There's something in me. I've got to read this book because something's telling me I need to read this book. But if
Yes.
you don't apply it to you, then shame on you.
Right.
Pick it up and read it again, because it will help you no matter what level of mindset you have. If you're already successful, if you've already got great relationships, if you're already a change maker and changing the world, then do it even better. Get this book, do it even better. It's
Yes.
called Free Your Land, and it's talking about the land up here.
Yep.
The land up here.
Developing your mental real
Yes.
estate. That's powerful stuff. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I appreciate this. And this is
Yes.
a great opportunity to just continue to connect and listen. And being the best you, what does that mean if you can't understand the parts of your mind that really strengthen everything that you do? How
That's
can you
right.
be the best you if you can't have the best mind? We
That's
got to
right.
contribute in all ways. If we want to be the best you that you can be, you got to come to her conference, guys. I can't just take all the shine right now. This conference was created for you, but it's created for a reason, because we understand that a lot of people don't really get the concept. How do I be the best me I could be?
Right.
And then how do I contribute to being the best me I can be? See, the answers is not always on the outside. A lot of times the answers are right here, right
Right.
within ourselves. And a lot of times it just takes something to help you understand just a little bit more about yourself. And when you can get that, I said it, when you can get that, then guess what? You can hit the ground running. Not only that, you don't always have to look back,
That's
because
right.
sometimes your past will follow you, but it's not meant to
Mhm.
stay with you.
That's
So
right. And you know what? If you've learned from it, and you've taken what you've learned to move it forward to help others and to help yourself, because
yes,
once you've healed from that past, man, you become powerful. And I don't mean powerful over people. I mean
right,
powerful within yourself to
right.
overcome your own challenges. And then you can go out and you can help others do it. I mean,
That's
what's the
right,
point? What's the point in having everything at your fingertips and being this amazing person if you can't use it to benefit others?
right.
There's just no point to it. What a lonely, miserable life to be just
Yes.
you.
And there's so much strength in knowing that when you do something well for somebody, when you contribute, when there's no dollar sign attached to what you're doing to help change the lives of other
Yes.
people, the benefit is just knowing that it's working. When you
Right.
see other people smile that haven't smiled in a long time, I reach people through music, because my motto says it's not about the music, it's about the
That's the
experience.
experience.
So it's
Yep.
not just being a DJ. I come to the platform anywhere I go, and I create an experience, because you never know that the music can reach people in places where your words can't. So
That's
that's
right.
why I do music the way I do, because I want people
And
to get.
music can change a mood.
Oh yes.
It can change so much within you.
Yes.
And so can your mindset.
Yes.
So can your
Your mental
mindset.
real estate.
That's right.
I love
That's
it.
right.
Thank you
And
so much. I
I'm
appreciate it.
promoting his, I got his shirt on. I truly believe in what he's doing. I believe in the stuff that he speaks about. He runs with a good group of people. And I'm telling you, this book, the mindset that he wrote it in, like you said, he was inspired by God. I mean, the Bible was inspired by God, written by man. How can how can that be a mistake? It
Right.
was like he said, when he tried to do it on his own, it didn't work. It fell apart. He got frustrated. The words weren't coming to him. But when he prayed and he allowed God to use him to write it, it just all came together. God does that in your life. When
Yeah.
you pray and you allow God to be the author of your life, man, you're going to see change. You're going to see doors open. And not only is he going to be at our conference, he's also going to be delivering the Sunday message at our conference. So you got to come for that. You just got
Amen.
to, and you got to get this book. And, you know, get on to the Kansas Coalition for Sentence and Prison Reform. We got a page on Facebook. You can contact Brandel and Shay or contact me. See how you maybe can help out some people that are behind the wall that maybe just need some encouragement. If you've got a little bit of time, we're not asking for any money. We're just saying maybe you could write a letter or two, maybe purchase a book and send it to a prison. You know, get with me, Brenda Ringwood. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, emails brendaringwood@gmail.com. Just contact me. Let's see how we can work together to benefit others. And Dr. Freeland, thank you so much for doing this. I know you are extremely busy. He's getting ready to go to Africa in a couple of weeks to do things with Dr.
Yes.
Reuben West, and he's taken his book over there as well. So I really recommend that you look it up. So where can they find this at? Where can they get it?
They can get the book. If they would like a signed copy, they can direct message me on Facebook at Micheal Freeland or DJ Mike J. If they want to go ahead and purchase a copy without having a signature, they can always look it up on Amazon. Amazon has the book. You type in Free Your Land. It should pop right in, or Micheal Freeland, the keywords that will get you right to the book. And you know what? And don't just take my word for it. Read the reviews, because there are reviews on Amazon. And guess what? I am proud to say that they're all 5-star. So I'm so thankful that people have done this. But however you need to reach the book, get to the book. Let me know if there's a way that you have any complications that I can help you. And I would be more than honored to help make sure that this book gets into the hands of the right people, because we want people to have this book, you know. And sometimes it's not about being the right person. It's just about being the person.
Right.
Because if it gets in the hands of the person who needs it, they may not even understand what they have until they actually get into it.
That's right. And then they become the right person.
Yes, this is what creates a difference in other people, because they don't, a lot of times, and I said it earlier, there's things I did not expect when it came to this book. But that's the power of mental real estate. When you start to work in this, there are going to be things you realize about yourself. And as you develop and grow and learn, you're going to say the same thing. I didn't really realize that about myself.
You know, I wish I'd have had it when I was a lot younger. You know how you say, well, if I'd like to go back to be 25 again, but only if I knew what I know now. If I'd had something like this to help me over my insecurities, my worrying about what other people thought, just things that it's a big deal in your life when you're going through it. But in reality, it's really not, because those people are not the ones paying your bills. They're not the ones living your life. They're just the ones criticizing you. So move on. Like Dr. West says, are you hanging out with zeros and ones? Because what, a 0 times a 0 is nothing. A 0 times anything is nothing. Even times a 1, you haven't increased the value. So go out there and find a value for yourself first, and then surround yourself with other valuable people. And when you do that, man, you're talking about change. Wonderful change. Thank you, Dr. Freeland. I really appreciate your time. And if you contact me, the first person to say, I want this book, I will donate a book and you will get it. So when you're seeing this, the first person that says, I want this book, I'm going to mail you a copy. So contact me, let me know, you can get a free book. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
God bless you all.
You keep doing what you're doing. Do all that good work.
Absolutely. I will. It's a lot of work to do, but I'm getting after it. I'm not going to quit.
One day at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless you all. Take care.
You as well.